Now I want to talk about Clemson versus Georgia because this is one of the week one games that I am really excited to watch because I think that it's going to be a great test in figuring out if Clemson just truly has fallen off from the ranks of the elite programs in college football because they're a 2-touchdown underdog going up against Georgia. And Georgia is the number one team in the nation according to all of the polls out there. And most people that you talk to would tell you Clemson is going to be around a 8, maybe 9 win team with the capability of winning 10 games at best. But you don't know if this Clemson team is good enough to match up with the kind of juggernaut they're going to be going up against, that is the Georgia Bulldogs. But I really think that Clemson isn't getting enough credit going into this game. You see, when you don't rely on the transfer portal, you're relying on recruiting and player development, which means that if you have a position that you've whiffed on in recruiting, it's going to take a couple of years to finally get it fixed because you're not addressing that area of need via the portal. You're just going to say, we're going to continue to recruit and develop guys until we eventually get it right, which is what I believe Dabo Swinney has finally done. Why Clemson has kind of fallen off the map a little bit has been their offense not being that good. You hired Lincoln Riley's brother, Garrett Riley, to be your offensive coordinator last year. And your offense did take some steps in improvement, but there were times when Cade Klubnik was too turnover prone, and he just wasn't that accurate, and you didn't have good receivers. There was a time when Clemson was in discussion for being wide receiver U when you had Martavis Bryant, Sammy Watkins, DeAndre Hopkins. The last receiver that Clemson has put in the NFL has been Justin Ross, and he hasn't really done anything. A big reason why I see Clemson's offense taking a massive leap this year is because you finally have good receivers now. You got a lot of young, talented guys with a lot of upside. This is the best that Clemson's wide receiver core has been in the last 5 years. And that's a big reason why I can see them giving Georgia somewhat of a dogfight in this game. If you can get really good offense to play, if you're Clemson this year, you're good enough to win the ACC. Because you know that you're going to have a good defense. And that defense should be able to slow down Georgia's offense week one. Georgia is one of the most complete teams in college football this year. But to be able to have a chance against them, you got to be able to match up well up front. And you got to have a defense that can slow down their opponent offense. Clemson has more than shown that they are able to compete with the best of the best if their defense shows up. Even with the loss of Brent Venables to Oklahoma, they still have produced really good defenses, and they still are really good at player development and getting them ready for the NFL. They just had a cornerback in Nate Wiggins who got drafted in the first round. So you know that Clemson's defense is going to play at a really high level. And if you can get good offense, you got a chance, especially in this early week one game, because we don't know just how good Georgia's going to be right out the gate. You know, for all we know, Georgia may be a little bit rusty. Things might not just click. And maybe for the first couple of quarters, you could take advantage of that. You could take advantage of the rust that Georgia may have, because outside of being able to practice against themselves, you know, who else have they been going up against? So that could be a benefit. And a lot of times when you see upsets take place in college football, they happen early in the season. And Dabo Swinney is still a really good coach. I remember last year, they came really close to beating Florida State. If it wasn't for some special teams mishaps, they would have won that game. And I still view Dabo Swinney as one of the best coaches in college football. And when Clemson is at their best is when he's able to dig into that underdog mentality, when he's able to use that, Clemson's players really respond. And if I'm Georgia, I'm not looking at Clemson as just an easy W. Because the last time you played them a few years ago, you only won the game 10-3. So as far as early bets go, I love Clemson plus 14. That's one of the plays that I'm going to end up rolling with because I see Clemson's offense being really improved this year 2, under offensive coordinator Garrett Riley. You also have fixed your offensive line problems. You hired a really good offensive line coach, and with good receiver play, a good offensive line, Clemson's offense can put some points up on Georgia's defense. Cade Klubnik was really highly touted when he was coming out of high school, and there is a lot of potential that he has yet to reach. So this is going to be an early test for Clemson in determining just how is this year going to go. Because I'm really having a hard time just writing off Clemson. I know Georgia is one of the best teams in college football, but I still believe that Clemson is up there with the elite echelon programs up there. It's just they've had to retool and reload over the last couple of years, but now they're not reloading anymore. This is a year where they should be able to compete with any team in college football, and I'm not saying that they're going to win this game, but what I am telling you is that I'm not expecting Clemson to just roll over and get dog walked by Georgia. This is a really good team that Clemson has that is going to be good up front on both sides of the football. They got good skill position players, and they got a really good offensive coordinator that knows how to maximize the personnel that he has on offense. So even though I'm still taking Georgia to win, I expect this to be a highly competitive game. It is going to be home field, even though it's neutral site. I don't know why they put Mercedes-Benz Stadium as a neutral site game when it's not too far away from Georgia's campus. I mean, you might as well just call it a home game for Georgia. Why do they do this? It's not a neutral site game. It's a home field game because it's in Georgia's backyard pretty much. But don't overlook Clemson. I don't see them getting blown out against Georgia.